Welcome back to a new episode. How you all doing? Thank you very much for clicking on this video. We're talking about rain, and it's so weird for me to talk about rain because I get questions. Sometimes on this channel, I get some interesting questions, but I find myself in a situation where I kind of can understand this one. Tesla, when you're talking about Tesla and the rain sensing wipers, there are some things that are, well, we just have to talk about, but I really thought everything would be kind of, well, by now everything's kind of fixed. There's still some issues, but let me get into it. Let me explain to you guys what I'm talking about. Like anything else, I think there's always a question when it comes to certain companies, certain manufacturers, especially with Teslas, there's people don't understand a lot of things about these cars, and that's understandable. It is, there's countless things that I get asked about Tesla and how everything works. Now, when we're talking about today's topic, which is rain and how the vehicle handles in the rain, it's pretty much like everything else. The car has no problem handling the rain. I feel like for me, this is an easy video to make considering I live in Vancouver, otherwise known as Raincouver. The reason for that is obviously because we got a ton of rain here. And so what kind of questions do I get? Some of the key questions I get is obviously to do with how is driving a Tesla in the rain compared to driving an ICE car in the rain. To be honest with you, it is the same exact thing. In fact, it's better in many cases, but realistically is the same thing. It comes down to the obvious scenarios. If you're driving and it's raining, you have to take it easy a little bit. My rule of thumb is, if I'm going to go on a sunny day, I'll usually do 5 or 10 over the posted limit. And whenever it's raining, I will do the posted limit or just under, depending on how heavy the rain is. And of course, traffic and so forth and so on. But realistically speaking, there's a scenario where with Teslas, especially the auto sensing wipers, were a huge problem in the past. And I remember when I bought my car, I almost exclusively did not use it. I used the manual settings on it, the manual functions, due to the simple fact that it just was not doing a great job at detecting the raindrops or whatever it was. And so I had to kind of take over and just do it, manually. I was usually adjusting my wipers manually. This kind of brings me to an interesting point, but it's something I say a lot on this channel and people don't really understand why I say it. When I say to people that realistically a Tesla is at its worst the day you buy it, this is one of those things that proves what I'm trying to say, and that is today the auto sensing wipers are by far better, 90% better. I will say that I will more often than not use the auto sensing wipers, well, pretty much almost exclusively now. There are times where I take over, and I use the manual settings, but those are very, very rare compared to what it used to be. Like I said, I pretty much never used it in the beginning. So in about a year and a half, through software updates and things like that, the car has dramatically improved on auto sensing wipers. Currently, they just work. This is one of the huge benefits of being Tesla, I think. Now, with that said, how does the car actually drive? I personally have had a wonderful time driving, regardless if it's rain, snow, whatever. It just works. There's no issues. And it's wonderful the way you can actually really take this car and just go out in all types of weather. And again, I have experience in all of these aspects. But rain, when it comes specifically to Tesla and rain, it works. There's no issues with driving at all. It's a pleasure driving the car in the rain. It's just as much fun for me as driving it in the sun. Now, I hate rain, despite the fact that I live in a place basically nicknamed Raincouver. I really don't like rain. I prefer to have, I don't even mind cloudy days. I just really don't like rain all that much. But the car definitely makes it a lot better for me. It makes it more enjoyable for me to drive. And as for the handling, well, before I even get into the handling, I do want to point out that the automatic rain sensing wipers, I have every car I've ever had and or driven, there is no such thing as a perfect sensor. There's no such thing as a car that does any of the rain sensing properly all the time. I think it's there's too many variables obviously to look at, because rain, it can be a fine mist, or it can be just a downpour, or it can be hail. It all depends on certain situations, and no sensor is set up in a way that it works perfectly all the time. So the way I look at it is, if your automatic rain sensing wiper works 80% of the time, you're pretty okay. I think that's normal. But then you'll get to learn how that works as the more you drive the vehicle. For example, when I was driving in my BMW, it had the rain sensing wipers, the automatic rain sensing wipers. It worked about 70% of the time, and that's about it. And like I said, with my Tesla, there was a time when it really didn't work at all. I didn't like the way it was doing anything. It was too fast, it was too slow, it was not really doing anything. And as time went on, the software updates kind of really fixed a lot of this. And I would say that's late 2019 is when you really started seeing a big shift, going from it really not being usable to actually being very usable. Now, going back to the driving aspect of it, I know because it's Tesla and it's an electric vehicle, there's a lot of questions coming up with regards to, well, how is it going through, let's say, like a flooded road? And I tell people it's the same as going through ice, through it with an ice car. Lots of times in a heavy downpour, you'll have a grate is probably plugged, your street is flooded. This is stuff that it just happens. And because it just happens, when you're going over puddles or you're going over stuff like this, you're kind of in a situation where you kind of have to see and make your own judgment call. Is that puddle too deep? And I've done this obviously with ice cars too, and with electric vehicles, my Tesla, I still do the same thing. I still judge it based on how deep something is. I use common sense. In case you guys are curious, when you're going through a puddle of water, especially on when the road is flooded, I always base it on speed, right? So the slower you go, obviously, the better you're doing. You're not getting all that water up in places where it probably shouldn't be. Although cars are pretty watertight, majority of the cars are pretty watertight. So the rule of thumb is, you look at the border too. You kind of have an idea how big the border is. If the water is under the border level, you want to reduce speed basically to what I call half the school zone. So think about it. Pretend you're in a school zone and go half that, and you'll be fine. There's not a problem. However, if you're in a position where the water is going to go up to your bumper or just passing your bumper, don't go in there. It's not good for any vehicle. It doesn't matter if it's electric or ice. So at the end of the day, there is a lot to say about how you drive when it's a rainy day. But frankly, when it comes to Teslas, I don't treat it very differently when it comes to driving. This is stuff that you should understand. It's part of your skill of driving. You have to learn how to drive in all conditions, be it rain, snow, sun, whatever, fog, mist. I know a lot of people who are very scared to drive in heavy fog or heavy mist. This is just one of those things where you have to build your skill over an X amount of time where you can be the best driver you can be. A lot of people don't realize that just because you have a license, it doesn't mean that you should be, you know everything. It's basically just the beginning. I always say getting your license is like getting out of kindergarten, and your schooling starts from there. Well, that's pretty much what it is with rain as well. So yeah, today we covered two topics. One, driving in the rain when it comes to just being able to, if the car can handle it. The car can handle this, no problem. Obviously, it is up to you to make sure that your tires are not bald. So if your tires look like my head, you shouldn't be on the road unless you're you're on a drag strip or something, slicks, right? So realistically, make sure that your tires are always up to par. You have tires for the conditions that you drive. All season tires really, really work. I've driven with all seasons for as many years as I can count, and it really does make a huge difference. Now, there are summer tires that are amazingly, wonderfully built specifically for rain as well. And I have no problem with people using that. Obviously, if you live in an area where there's no snow, but you can get the occasional rain, those are the tires you want to go with. what kind of tires. I am not an expert on tires, so that's something for you to figure out. You can talk to Tesla. The Tesla service center is actually pretty good at having that kind of information for you. But regardless of the vehicle, if it's a Tesla or another car, make sure that your tires are up to par to handle all situations throughout the year, that depending on the area you live here. Where I live, obviously snow can be an issue, so for snow I'll switch over my tires in the wintertime, but during the summertime when we have snow, rain and sun, I have tires that are specifically for that, and that's great. I'm happy with them. And like I said, it comes down to skill, using common sense. On a rainy day or a snowy day, the posted speed limit is not necessarily what you want to be doing. You want to maintain a safe speed and a safe distance. The cars are engineered to deal with all this stuff. It's the human factor that really can damage your vehicle, damage other people's vehicle, and put you guys all in danger. So that's not an issue. That's something you can fix. It's just a matter of skill and common sense. As for the rain sensing wipers, like I said, Tesla has done an amazing job, and I have to say, I gotta say, they really have done an amazing job with the rain sensing wipers. Huge improvement. It's day and night. From the time I bought my car to, like, in a matter of a year and a half, they went from it being completely useless, in my opinion, to actually being usable, and I don't worry about it. A little bonus fact here, most people don't realize that if you're going to go through a car wash, make sure you turn off your automatic rain sensing wipers. And if you want to change your wipers, as an example, or clean out underneath them, make sure that before you put a service mode on the computer, in the car, that your auto wipers are turned off. Otherwise, your wipers will not come up, so you can actually do what you want to do. That's just a little bonus fact. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Look forward to the next video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you guys found it useful, and subscribe. I really want to get this channel up over 1,000 subscribers, hopefully soon, and hit that notification bell if you guys think you want to see more instructional videos coming up in the future. All right, drive safe, everyone. Bye-bye.